Yeah, so with the cryptocurrency tracker, what I used is like I opened up coinmarketcap.com.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have their API, and I just like fed the API documentation to ChatGPT and asked it to create a ticker for me using HTML and JavaScript,
Okay.
and it did that. I like a lot easier than I thought it would.
Really? What?
Yeah, I just took a screenshot of a reference of what I need, and then gave it all the documentation and an API key, and it did it.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That is. And you didn't have to install any plugins?
No, no, it's I mean it did it tell me everything exactly what I needed to do. So it generated like a proxy file with an API key which I uploaded, and then it generated a code for the actual widget. So yeah, nothing else.
That's crazy. I mean, that's ChatGPT. That's the future of iGaming. I mean, that's what I wanted to talk about, and you started it off right up with ChatGPT. It's the first thing really to give Google a run for its money.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there should be some crossover with them. We sort of touched upon that last time, where uh, well, I mean, my thoughts are that if everything kind of moves over to chat, like to like AI chatbots, then the incentive to create the content disappears. But yeah, I mean, could have a whole different sort of set of incentives there. And in terms of future, it's quite interesting. So. I think a lot of like it's not like VR glasses as I think would be the future, but I think the augmented stuff like the augmented reality and live streams, and you could and you could combine that with betting. And I know a lot of companies already do that, especially in the US market, as far as I'm aware. So say if you have a live stream. I'm not sure. Well, like a lot of these things are just proof of concepts. I don't think a lot of them are live, but some of them are. Say if you're watching a game, an NFL game or something like that, and you watch a live stream in like a betting app, and then you can tap or click on a player, and you'd have a pop up with player props for that certain player. And in terms of like betting from like a bookmaker and a user perspective, I think those sort of very interactive live betting kind of playful things will probably dominate the whole thing.
I agree. I mean, with sports betting, it really it seems that exactly what you said. I mean, it's just future with that is here, and uh, and it's good to see. It's really good to see.
Yeah. And
But
with casinos, um, it's probably different. I mean, I've heard last year, just because I kind of tuned into that, a lot of things about like metaverse, casino, metaverse, reality, adding the social element. And I actually been to one of the Sigma conferences. I think it was the last one in Dubai or the one before that, and they had I think there was like a startup there. They had a startup pitch about like a virtual casino, like with the VR glasses. It has like the social element to it and everything. And I actually was fortunate enough to give it a try.
oh, really?
Um, yeah, so they did the startup pitch, which sadly didn't go too well because there was kind of a language barrier with the guys and the audience. But we speak the same native language, so them and me, so we kind of caught up after that, and I had a chance to try it out. And to be frank, I didn't buy it, so maybe it's just me, but the whole experience is at the moment, and I think it's pretty far away from being something that you kind of casually just do at an evening sort of thing.
I mean, were you able to scroll through, like, say, a casino and swipe like this and hit a slot machine?
Yes, yeah. So the whole thing starts with like you put on the glasses, and I mean, if only I could remember the name of the startup because I think they probably deserve to be mentioned. But maybe if I find them, I'll send you the name later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it starts off with you put on the glasses, you kind of start as like sitting down on whatever kind of thing, then you stand up and you can move. You move with these like joystick controller things, so you don't actually walk, obviously. So you move around the casino kind of room, and you have those like kind of clumsy bots walking around, and obviously there are no other people to interact with, but the idea is that you'd have like a voice chat, so you could come up to a person, say something, then they can say something back. But I mean, it all really goes down to still coming up to a slot machine and then a regular slot game loading in the entire view, and you just play. So
That's
I just don't see the whole like social element adding a lot of value to it because I don't see people like socializing that much in a regular casino, to be honest.
I hear
Unless you come with something with somebody who you already know.
it does work with bingo. Strangely, it works with bingo chat rooms. They
Mhm.
get pretty hot.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't kind of think about bingo specifically or table games. Those might be kind of a slightly different. Uh, they have like a slightly different nature in terms of interaction between people. But yeah, slot machines aren't really the social activity that you'd expect them to be.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not. Definitely not the social thing like bingo or table games, but still fun to
Yeah,
play.
now that you mentioned it, bingo might actually sound like a good candidate for something like this.
Yeah, and they have a really big market. I did a lot of bingo promoting, and I mean, I was surprised with how well it converted, um, and how well the player retention was. I mean, it was just a great niche for, I'd say, a solid 10 years. It was just a very solid niche. I ended up selling the website, and I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, sounds good. And like, so what about now? Would you consider doing it now?
I don't know, just because my focus is on slots, and
Hmm.
if I were to do anything, it would be more table game related because the deposits are a lot higher with table games. So, if I've just speak to a lot of affiliate managers about this, when people play slots, their deposits are a lot smaller, but when people play table games, their deposits are a lot higher. So,
Hmm.
I'd probably I have a couple good domain names that I'd use for table games, so that might be in the future.
Yeah, based on your experience before, I think that at least sounds like a good, well, decent thing to try and invest time into because apparently you have some experience with that, so it's a head start, sort of. Yeah.
It is a good head start. You know what? I really wanted to uh, get. I'm not going to say ahead, but in front of the smart glasses and all before that comes really trendy. I really wanted to integrate my website somehow with that. And I don't have any real solid ideas on how to do that. It would just take a lot of coding, which I am not that good at coding. So, um, that that would be that would be the format I'd like to do.
Mhm. Yeah, that's an interesting thing because in terms of the whole VR kind of the VR sentiment in from your side in the US, I think you're way ahead of let's say me being in the EU, where here it's like it's a very it's something that you don't see people talking about every day. People don't really take it seriously all that much. Where on the other hand, as far as I heard, at least in the US, it's kind of something that larger and smaller companies and everyone really are investing a lot of time and money into, with the expectation that it will pay off in the near future.
Yes, and that's a big reason. But I'd never give up on the slots. I personally
Mm.
love to play them, and they're just a great time. They really are.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I have sort of the same affinity for like sports betting in general. Um, not necessarily even because I like to bet myself, but because I think that to a large degree supports sports as is, especially a lot of the smaller leagues, a lot of the smaller competitions, and um, the less known athletes. I mean, a lot of them are sponsored by sports books, and for better or for worse, this kind of helps the sports develop.
Yeah, especially where you are in the EU, it's big. It's very big with
Yeah.
the football. It's huge, really is. I'd like to get more into sports betting, but I am not that big into sports. I do watch a little football. I love it when March Madness is here, but for me to really create a full sports betting website, I just don't see it. I'm not that much into sports. It's just not a passion of mine.
Yeah, I mean, I can sort of get it. With me, it's not even me being into sports. What keeps me there? It's more of me being into sort of all the probabilities that go along with that. So that's really what clicks for me. It's like how do you figure out what's the most probable outcome? How do you kind of get the best out of a combination of different probabilities, which may or may not happen, and so putting all of that together, it's kind of the exciting bit, I guess.
I was wondering if you saw a chart of how Search GPT, ChatGPT, is starting to really take a market share of Google.
No, I haven't actually. Is that something that's been widely circulated?
I've seen it on X, um,
Okay.
and it's a decent sized chunk. It's up there with I'd say Bing, and I mean not that Bing is a huge market share, but it's so new and it's taken up a decent portion of it. I really think that that the ChatGPT is going to grow and how the search is going to be completely different.
Yeah, I only wonder how would they kind of evaluate that? Is it based on uh, the indications that Chat like OpenAI themselves have, or is it like the hit like the number of hits from the ChatGPT bots or things of that sort? Hmm.
That's a good question. I don't know how they would actually measure that and integrate it into an SEO. I mean, I think eventually they're going to start doing paid ads. I mean, that would only make sense.
That would, yeah. I mean, it's well, in terms of ChatGPT, they it's kind of a paid tool. Well, it's also a free tool, but at the same time, it is a paid tool. So they it would make sense for them to plug ads into the free version, for sure. And okay, because I think that the plans were for them to incentivize people who create plugins for ChatGPT. So it's like it's like Google Play and stuff where you'd publish your ChatGPT plugins and then you'd get a cut from the people who use it on the paid version.
Huh. That's interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, okay. Because there's quite a lot of cool things there. Also, I mean, everything I do really I just do with the actual just the stock Chat GPT, and its versions. But some things like let's say if I need to create a logo that doesn't necessarily scream that it's been made by AI, then I'd probably refer to one of the plugins there.
Yeah. I mean, it's impressive. Like you were saying with the code, I've actually even just some very small stuff, embedding slot machines into reviews and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just easy iframe stuff. I mean, it's not, I mean, I could technically do it, even though I'm just lazy about it, and just ChatGPT just has the code sitting right there.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Same with like everything else.